Hello YouTube, Vectis 3D Models here with another instruction video. In front of us you can see a plastic kit of a 9F as well as a new Westinghouse pump kit made by us. This kit or conversion kit is for the Consett or Tyne Dock 9Fs. Of course I know they should be single chimneys, but unfortunately the Dapol kit only had a double chimney. But we'll just have to ignore that for now. This kit is available from MadeMe and eBay. Now of course the ready-to-run manufacturers Bachmann and Hornby have both done Tyne Dock or Consett or 9Fs recently. This kit is a cheaper alternative for you to fit to your ready-to-run 9F. In this video I will walk you through fitting this kit to a 9F and giving you guides and details along the way. I hope you find it informative, and all the links are in the description below if you are interested in purchasing one. Thank you and enjoy the video. In your kit you should receive the following: 2 Westinghouse pumps. This has a bracket on the rear to fit on the underside of the running plate. This differs from the one in the video. 2 air tanks and bracket. Various detailing components of the pipework including the globe valves. 4 foot of copper wire, as well as a piece of brass wire for the globe valves to fit onto the cab. So you join me on the workbench. So first off we're going to check our kit, make sure we've got all the parts we are expecting, from the copper wire to all the resin parts. And then what we're going to do after that, we're going to check all the components, make sure nothing's damaged or in any way, shape or form. These will need some light cleaning with a very light needle file over it, so around the supports, around the brackets, etc. But most of the supports have been put underneath in areas that you can't see, especially on these air tanks here. Now this area will need cleaning up, just here between this small upright here which locks onto the side of the chassis, and this flat piece here which mounts onto the top of the chassis. But most of the air tanks are not really affected by the supports. Once you've done that, then we'll move on to measuring up onto the 9F we have in front of us. Okay, so part 1 really of the installation of these pumps are the pumps themselves. So we're going to look at the right hand side of the locomotive as we look at it from behind or tender end. And I've cleaned off the running plate here, as the old Airfix one has some rather large sander boxes which I've removed completely. Hopefully your ready to run models won't be so large like this one. So overall we need to look at placement of these pumps. Now usually they're on the middle axle set, so this one here, if I point it towards the camera, and if we go from the centre here up, that's where we need to be really, just there. If you put a small pencil line on that, and really the gap is 14.3 millimeters. So just about there. So what I'll do is I will mark up in that area just above the centre line of that centre wheel, and just so you can see I'm not telling any porkies. There's the middle flanges wheel with the 2 Westinghouse pumps just above it. So I'll mark that up now, and then we'll start moving on to some cutting. So now, having marked up the running plate of the 9F, we have gone from the middle here, so the middle section of 13.75, slightly unlucky, but never mind. So the whole length is 13.75, and that's gone out from the centre, so a line drawn up from the centre axle, centre of the running plate, and the 13.75 is centred and along the side. Depth going backwards is 3.75 millimeters. You can find all the measurements on the PDF. So with that done and marked up, double checked, triple checked, it's now time for some cutting. I'm going to use a Dremel cutter, as you can see here, which is a diamond cutter. Not really needed on plastic, but it will do. Any sort of cutter will do. You can obviously use different tools like some small saws or anything like that. You can work your way out of it, or even just file straight through. Do the 3.75 mil deep. It's not that thick for a running plate on most of these 9F, so it's doable. So what I'm going to do is remove the body from the chassis, and then we're going to go on to cutting the section out for the pumps. See that quite nicely there. And just to get the Westinghouse pumps, just to double check. Yeah, they fit quite nicely in the centre there, so that's fine. So what I'll do now is just clean it up a little bit more, to put some more primer around the area. And then what I'll move on to is adding the mounting plate, which will go on the underside here. And that will glue to the underside there, and then you can mount the Westinghouse pumps onto that support at the back. Okay, so now we're going to go on to preparing the pump before we put it into place. So what you'll need is your copper wire, which is 0.6 of a mil, a pin vise, and a trusty box of drill bits. This is 0.3 to 1.6 mil. You'll need 0.6 out of this, and of course you'll need your Westinghouse pumps. So on this we've got a few holes to re-drill and just clear out with some care, of course. So you've got a hole here, you've got two, one either side, one here and one on this side just here. And the pipe work will go out that way, and go right angles along the boiler, as well as these ones here. This one will do a curve and go back round, which I'll take you through as we proceed. So we need to do that. We need to get 0.6 mil drill, your pin vise, and we'll start going around very carefully and drilling out those holes. Okay, moving on to the next section of this build, or this kit, we'll go on to the pipe work. Now this pipe work is made up of 0.6mm copper wire, which is included in your kit. It's quite supple, easier to manipulate with the tools that you may have, either tweezers or your fingers, or maybe some round nose pliers, or even flat pliers. This stuff you can use if you wish, or you can use a material of your choice like brass if you wish. Of course you'll get some resin 3D printed parts with this as well, like this item here and this item here. Now of course you'll get some brass 0.5mm wire as well, and you'll have to drill a small hole into these if you wish, and these go into the cab. However, if you don't want to do or deal with the fiddly bits and pieces like drilling one of these, then you can just use a handrail holder, but you'll have to drill out the hole for the copper wire, which is 0.6. So you'll need a couple of drill bits for this, 0.6 and 0.45mm. Now I've roughly shaped this with some round nose pliers, and I've made some adjustments where I need it. Now to get a full layout of the pipe work, that will be in the PDF document which goes along with this instruction video. And you can see, if I bring it into view, the pumps here, and you can already see I've already fitted one onto the side already, just having to fit the other one. Now there should be enough copper wire to complete the pipe work on this. However, I'm learning as I go with this, so the kit that you get is correct and has enough wire to complete the kit that you are building. So on with the show, and I will show you how to fit that now, and how to shape it and fit it into place and where it goes. So here we are on the side of the boiler and the pumps. Now I started working from the back forwards, so anything which is fitted behind isn't going to be an issue later on. Start from the front going towards the back. So I started from the back coming forwards. So the first pipe I put in, which I've shaped as it were, so this one comes into this pump on the right hand side, but on the left of the pump, and that bends around 90 degrees, runs along the back, curves out slightly and comes around the firebox. Just for the firebox we've got one of the resin detail pieces, which you can just see there. I mean, that runs towards the cab and does a 90 with a curve, and then into another resin detail piece just here, which I've already fitted the brass wire, the 0.45 brass wire to. I drilled 2 holes in the front of the cab just here. Now if you don't want to use these resin pieces, which are the sort of actuators, or the where they actually turn it on from the cab or turn it off, you can just use a brass handrail knob. Remembering this is 0.6, so you'll have to drill it out for 0.6, but that's reasonably simple to do. So I fitted that to the cab on the front, then slightly bent it up, ready for the next piece that goes in front of this one. I've already pre-shaped this one, so again, coming from the front, we're going from the left hand pump and the extra piece leading off from the pump on the front, and this has been shaped, and all these holes on the pump should have been drilled out. So run along the front like so, and that should fit neatly alongside. So I'll just fit all of that now and come back to you on the next section. Moving along the side of the 9F, you can see here, you can see we've mounted the pipe work up to the head of where the whistle is, and fitted all the additional small pieces of wire going to the valves as well. And all of this is now glued into position and just fixed in place as in varnish. And of course now we need to fit the other pieces of pipe work going towards the smoke box, which are usually the exhaust pipes coming from the tops of the Westinghouse pumps. So as you already know, we've drilled the holes in the pumps, which is 0.6 or 65 of a mil. You can see I've already shaped some brass wire, or copper wire I should say, and this is about 95 mil per section, so there's two pipes coming from either side of the pump, and then 95 mil when started before being shaped. And you can see we have a section which goes round the boiler feed pipe up to the clack valve, and this initial one is quite an easy one to shape. I'm only using some round nose pliers and also some cutters, as well as some flat nose pliers as well. You will also need to drill 2 holes in the smoke box end, so you can put them or insert the wire into them. And this one initially coming from the right hand pump, as I say, it's pretty straightforward. It's basically a loop around the pipe, then a 90 down, then a 90 up again, straight for about 1.5 millimeters, then turns 90 again towards the pump, and a small dog leg up to the pump. So if I just carefully slide this in, again it slides in there, and that runs parallel with a handrail wire along the boiler, which then disappears just behind the smoke deflector. And as I say, or have said in the past, it's a bit tricky to remove the smoke deflectors on the RTR models, so you may want to just drill a hole just before the smoke deflector, just so it's a bit easier to do. Again, needs to be slightly glued on this side, and the upper pipe or piece of copper wire, which is again similar pattern to the one below, it just extends a little bit longer to run behind the pump, a little bit higher, and then a 90 left and a 90 right, and to go straight in to the side of the left hand side pump, and that will run basically along the top of the other. So I'll just get that ready to fit now and take you through the stages. Of course, all this will be written up in the Word document or PDF which comes with this kit. Moving on to the second part of the pipe work. Most of the pipe work now has been completed on the top side, you can see there, and now we're going to move on to the bottom end of the pipe work, which comes out of the bottom part of the pumps and goes towards the air tanks, which haven't been fitted yet. Of course, you'll need some copper wire, which I have here, which has already been shaped and made up. The shorter section is around about 25 millimeters in length. It's just bent at a 90 right at the top. Then the second part is about 35 millimeters long, and there's a 90 right, and the sort of dog's leg, and then carries on into the side of the pump. So this one will go into the left hand side pump, bottom side, and this will go into the right hand pump on the right hand side. And as you can see, these have been soldered together just here to hold them. You just need some round nosed pliers to shape these, and they should easily fit in the bottom section of the pumps because the holes are slightly oversized, so it's a bit easier. I'll be sticking these in place with some varnish just on the ends. If you're not too sure using varnish, or you can use a little bit of super glue, but these will nicely fit into the side of the pumps. I'll just show you here, like so. So these will now be fitted into place. So you can just see there the layout. These will not be stuck to the top of the chassis because of course we need to remove the body shell to do maintenance or repairs or whatever to the chassis block. With these now fitted into place and will be varnished into place with a little bit of varnish on the end, we'll now move on to the Westinghouse air tanks, which are on the opposite side of the chassis, and that'll be the next part in this walkthrough. Okay, moving on to the chassis block. Of course this is a kit, so unfortunately it's not a block, it's just a bar sort of framed chassis, but it gives a good enough representation that you can see what we're doing. So the next part really is the bottom section of the Westinghouse pump or air brakes, and of course on the left hand side, if you look from behind the locomotive, there are two vacuum tanks, or air tanks I should say, on the left hand side of the locomotive, between the flangeless wheel in the centre and the flanged wheel just behind it going towards the cab. So here we have our 3D print of the two air tanks. You can see two holes on the end here which will need to be opened up to 0.6 of a mil, and this will just simply glue into section here. I've added a bit of plastic card so it has something to mount to. All you need to do with the tanks is just clean up the underside, make sure any debris or any support material is out of the way, and clean that quite nicely. I tried to keep all the supports on the underside so you don't see it from the top, and you can glue that onto the chassis just there. That'll be glued into place with some super glue or some Araldite or your glue of choice, and then you'll need some 0.6 mil copper wire which will come out the front and turn right 90 right towards the chassis and just lay on top of the chassis block itself. Of course, if you're putting these onto a locomotive, unlike myself who's just using this to show you, always remember to paint them before fitting them. That's the main thing. So I'll just do that for you to show you how to do this, and then that'll be pretty much completed. Going to use about 35 mil of copper wire. I'm just going to put a small right angle into that, and I can trim off anything extra at the end. I'll need two of these, and then getting them ready to solder together. With the body shell now slid back onto its chassis, you can see the brake reservoir cylinders or air cylinders just there underneath the running plate. You can see Westinghouse pumps on the other side of the running plate. Here we are at the end of the build. As you can see, the pipework and pumps are on this side, and as you saw in the previous clip, the air tanks have been fitted to the other side. I hope this video has been informative and instructive, as it should be, and if you want to purchase one of these kits, you can find it on Vectis 3D Models on Facebook and also on the link below in the description. If you wish to ask any questions, please do below, or you can get in contact with me at Vectis 3D Models, or one word, at btinternet.com. Thank you for watching, and thank you in advance if you purchase one of these kits. Thank you.